Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vet Candy Life. My name is Dr. Quincy Hawley.
And I'm Renee Machel.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about work-life balance. And we're terribly excited about that. What about you?
I love it. Let's call it work-life harmony.
Let's call it work-life integration.
Let's call it, sure. This show is brought to you by VetProCentral, a free veterinary recruiting service for job seekers. Visit VetProCentral.com for more info.
Guess what? Dream jobs do exist. And let me tell you about this one. The folks at this mega animal hospital care just as much about the environment as they do about taking the best care of their clients' pets. This 25-plus veterinary doctor practice features a full-service hospital with 24/7 care and specialty services as well. It is one of the largest privately owned practices in the state. That's not all. The community surrounding the hospital is an amazing place to live. The area is number 2 on the list of best places to relocate, most likely due to the natural beauty, prolific art scene, and an affordable cost of living that is 14.4% below the national average. This job would be perfect for the general practitioner or a specialist. Want to learn more about this dream job or learn about other opportunities? Check out VetProCentral.com for more information. We are in the dream job finding business.
Work-life balance has been called a lot of things over time. I've
Yeah.
heard work-life balance, work-life harmony, work-life integration, and I personally like to call it work-life intention and work-life effort. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But what does work-life balance mean to you, Renee?
That's a great question. I believe that work-life balance to me is a state of, that harmony, that balance to where things aren't all one-sided.
Ooh, yeah.
And to me, it's rehumanizing the workplace to where we recognize that we're humans first.
Right.
And we recognize that at home and at work, we wear different hats. And oftentimes, even with the most conscious efforts, those hats can be worn at the same time, meaning I might have to take a personal phone call during the hours that I'm at work, right? And that shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly.
And vice versa, right? But to do so in a way that doesn't build resistance, to where I don't feel guilt, and I don't feel like I have to be choosing or forcing it, or just sort of a balance to it, a harmony.
And I think it's really important, especially for veterinary professionals, because we have a job that's deemed to be more stressful, right? And so we're going to work and we're expending a lot of energy. We're spending energy on the clients, we're spending energy on the patients, on our team members, and then also on ourselves at times, especially if you've got like imposter syndrome or perfectionism, or if you're making mistakes at work. And all of that can be really heavy and take a lot of energy from us as veterinary professionals. And then we go home and now that work-life balance is already thrown off because we've given so much at work. And I personally, Renee, have been realizing over the past, and maybe it's through my introspection and self-awareness, that I'm grumpy in the evenings. I'm very grumpy in the evenings. And when I'm at work from 8 in the morning until 7 p.m. at night, I'm giving like so much positive energy to the clients and trying not to be irritated by certain things that happen, that by the time I get home, I'm kind of depleted.
You're depleted. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good observation. And so let me ask you, what do you plan to do about that?
So I think that's a great question. I think that the first thing that we have to do is A, have that self-awareness, and then B, there has to be like so I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Willpower.
Okay.
And it's kind of talking about self-discipline. And it talks about the exact same phenomenon that I just described, where the using self-discipline to, for example, make good diet choices, or, exercise, or to not be upset by the little small things of life, where that literally makes you less able to do it later on. So if you're using up a lot of self-discipline, it makes it more difficult to be self-disciplined in the evenings. And so through that, a part of the answer is, not only do I have the self-awareness, but I also am using the, education. So I'm educating myself. I'm going and reading books and saying, hey, I've got this issue where maybe I'm coming home in the evenings and I'm yelling at the kids, and maybe I'm short with my wife and short with the pets, and realizing that that's a problem and a challenge, but doing something about it. And I think that's the biggest thing there, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's, the awareness is one, and then two, taking action. For me, I think it would be a matter of, if this, learning through contrast, if this isn't what you want, figuring out what it is that you do want. What does feel good? What does a work-life balance look like for you? What does it feel like for you? So that when you're getting to these points, sometimes on paper, it might look okay. Maybe you only work 3 days a week, right? So it looks okay, but it doesn't feel in alignment. Maybe, you need to work more days, less hours, to where you can pick up your kids from school or something, right? So I think we have to figure out, how does it feel for us, in addition to how it looks, and then like you said, take action to move from point A to point B. Right.
Let's go back to the idealization aspect of work-life balance, harmony, integration, and whatever you want to call it, because I really think that's the most important part. What does it mean to you? Because it could be completely different for Renee than it is for Quincy, right? And it can be completely different for me than it is for my wife.
Sure.
Right? And so can you talk about idealization a little bit? Like, how can people or do you have a tip as to how people can figure out what do they need in terms of work-life balance? If I can't tell someone, hey, you need to work 5 days a week or 4 days a week, what tips do we have for them?
That introspection, and we do have an episode on mindfulness, and through that journey, you get to learn more about what's going on internally and what those responses are. And so you can tell whether you're stressed or whether you're not stressed.
Right.
And through that, you have to be willing to listen to the answers, right? If you're asking those questions, like, what don't I want to show up in my life? What's not working? Very few people do that, whether it's quarterly, yearly. We talk about New Year's resolutions. I think we've talked about that in a past episode. But, if you're doing this regularly, what's not working in your life? What is? And how can it be better spread around? I'm a firm believer in the life wheel. You've heard of the life wheel.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys haven't heard of the life wheel, quick Google search. And essentially that we have 8 to 12 different departments in our life. And many of the time we are driving around on flat wheels because there's a lot of energy and awareness going into one area, and the other areas might be suffering. And so I think it's necessary that we shed a little light on these different areas of our life so that there can be this harmony, because once you start grooving in one area, doesn't it sometimes really effortlessly transfer over to another? If you and wife are doing phenomenal, do you not show up at work feeling phenomenal? And if you're firing on all cylinders at work and your career is really vibing, do you not come home and you're in a really great mood, right? And so these things effortlessly transfer to other areas of our life, and that's where we get that harmony, to where we're not having to make big strides and it doesn't feel like work, to enhance an area of our life.
Right.
But in turn, it feels fun because you're reading, you're growing your knowledge. It's almost like a hobby. And so then it just all works harmoniously. Right. It's in synchronicity.
And I think that one thing that we have to visit, if we're talking about work-life balance, harmony, or whatever, is the 10 most dangerous words in the human language, right? You know what those are? The 10 most dangerous words?
I feel like I heard them. No, tell me.
Okay, all right. So you've got what will other people think and what will other people say. Yeah. Because when you start to take time for yourself, or if you begin to look at your life, both professionally on the work side and personally as a human, right? And if you begin to do things like take less or work less, or do different things at home to really enhance your personal and your professional life, sometimes people can look at that and say, wait a second, you're taking an extra vacation this year, or you're dropping down a day, or going part-time, or whatever it happens to be. And that may discourage you from doing what you need to do for yourself through the introspection and through the self-awareness. I'm not saying to work less, I'm not saying to work more or to keep it the same, but through your introspection, you can find out for yourself what it is that you need. Right?
So I think, piggybacking off of that is having healthy boundaries and communication skills to be able to enforce or establish what that ideal life looks like, right? Because it sitting on a piece of paper at home doesn't do you really any good after a certain point. And so you've got to be able to take that and bring it into reality. But in order to do that, you have to know that some boundaries will have to be established.
Yes.
They might be permeated and you might have to renegotiate them, right? To where maybe it's even with your wife or with a boss that you've worked with for years. You have to be willing to renegotiate these boundaries. And with ourselves, we have to be willing to give ourselves permission to have what feels right for us as a work-life balance, knowing that it's going to look different than a colleague or someone else. Right. So we have to have some self-acceptance too.
And now let's hear from one of our friends who's going to share some amazing lifestyle information with us.
Hi, my name's MJ, and today we're going to be doing a technique to help you deal with stress. This is a great way to help calm and relax you, to let you move from one phase of the day to the next, maybe from patient to patient, to help give you more focus, clarity, and ease throughout your day. So the best thing that you can do is take a moment, take some time for yourself. Let's shake your shoulders out a little bit, maybe roll them up and down. Breathe with it. So I want you to inhale. Exhale as you roll them down. Let's go ahead and close your eyes if you have a moment to do that. And then let's roll them forward. Up, inhale. Exhale as you roll them down. Good. Now as you relax here, allow yourself to focus on breathing. We're going to open our belly or expand just this capacity for air to come in. So you really want your belly to expand forward. So fill it up with air. And once that belly's full, feel the rib cage and the lungs expand. And then once that's full, feel your chest lift with even more air. Now hold that for just a minute. Inhaling more air as much as you can. It's going to feel like it's at full expansion. Then exhale slowly for 6 counts. So let's do that one more time, focusing on the belly, lungs, chest. Hold for a sec, exhale. So you're exhaling through the mouth slowly. You want to hear like you fogging your breath up against a window. And let's do this 2 more times on your own, focusing. And I want you to visualize now as you inhale, visualize that air coming into the body, cleaning the body of stress and tension. Imagine it collecting all of the tension in your body. And then as you exhale, let it out. Allowing your body to become more relaxed, allowing it to get heavier, allowing it to feel at ease. Let's do it 2 more times now. Inhale. Expand the belly, ribs, chest. And then exhale, release that tension, release the shoulders, release any tightness or clinging your body might be doing. 1 more time now, inhale. Exhale. Slow it down even more. Feeling yourself get a little bit heavier, a little bit more loose and relaxed. Your mind should be feeling a little more calm and a little more focused. And this is a place you can come back to anytime, taking these 5 deep breaths, focusing on filling the belly, the ribs, and the lungs, focusing on filling the body with air and expelling any stress or tension or anything that might be weighing you down with every exhalation. Thank you so much for joining me here on this quick technique for dealing with stress. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for sharing those tips with us. I hope that everyone took a little something away from that. I know I certainly did.
Absolutely. And you're going to need that empowerment. You're going to need the boundaries because society oftentimes says that you should work more and you should work yourself into oblivion and that you should work till 59 and a half and work Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 or whatever the hours happen to be. Not 8 to 9, but 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 8 to 7, sometimes 8 to 8, especially in our profession. I've had veterinary professionals also tell me too that, hey, I'm working 6 days a week, 12-hour days. Like, what do you recommend or suggest for me? I'm just like, a complete makeover. A complete makeover of your life, right? Or of your work schedule. If that doesn't sit well with you, then you've got to sit down and take the time to figure it out.
Yeah, if that was a strategy move where you said, okay, Renee, I'm going to work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is my strategy and here's why.
Right.
That's different. Yeah. But if you kind of wandered into this schedule and now you don't know how to get out, that could certainly be a problem. I think burnout is something that everyone in the field is very familiar with. And we have to recognize that, what is going to burn me out might be different, for what's going to burn you out. But
so important.
Overall,
so important.
I mean, some of the key elements of a burnout are, just that overworked and exhaustedness that comes from depleting your finite resources. We tend to forget as caregivers that our resources are finite, and we tend to disregard or maybe forget that certain things are in fact resources, which is, like you were talking about earlier, the ability to make decisions. There is such a thing called decision-making fatigue. And so, that's why you'll have some really successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs wear the same outfit every day.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. For sure.
Because it's one last decision that they have to make. And so I think that's really important. Things that you can automate in your life, that can be a way to help things run smoother and, just go ahead.
I love that. And I think it's important to experiment.
Yes.
And give yourself permission to change back to whatever you just came from. If you do make a change as it relates to the ratio of work to being at home or being off or what have you. Because sometimes you're going to find that, I thought that this is what I wanted, but maybe in actuality, it wasn't.
Yeah, maybe like a remote position. Like if you were to negotiate a remote position and you go home and you find, okay, I'm really, really productive and this is really working. And then maybe there's a time of day where you're not productive at all.
Right.
And so maybe it's that your energy level drops or there's something else in the environment that you didn't recognize before. And then, just making small, fine adjustments, experimenting is just the willingness that really, and for us, it's not even the willingness. It's like the relentless pursuit.
Right.
to just be a better human.
Yes. And I think it's really important to be grateful for what is before we start moving on. We don't want to become that donkey chasing this carrot of a dream of work-life balance or harmony or whatever without being able to, going back to mindfulness like we've talked about in previous episodes, being able to enjoy the moment of now while we're working towards a better work life, whatever,
That's
because it's a journey, isn't it?
It is a journey, and you can't postpone your happiness.
Don't postpone it. Don't do
I
it.
have learned that you cannot postpone your happiness. You cannot delegate your happiness.
Right.
And so you can't wait for the system to change. You can't wait for all of your operating systems to change.
Yes.
You have to, happiness sometimes, or joy, the ability to be grateful, the ability to be present, these things at times can really be a choice.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
And so I think we tend to pass that off, that it's, I don't have a choice, or, but it's sometimes more of an excuse. And I think through that introspection, people will find that they do have a lot more, available to them. They have a lot more resources that they can feel empowered with. They have a lot more control over things that they typically might not think that they do. There's a lot of things that people can accomplish if they reframe the question to not, that can't happen for me, but instead, how can I make that happen for me?
Yep, that's it. And that kind of leads into why I use the term work-life intention and then work-life effort, okay? So I honestly believe that once you have the intention set that you're going to achieve a certain thing in the future, that it's basically done, but there is a level of effort, which is oftentimes grossly underrated, that has to be involved in all of this.
Sure.
And so you can set the intention that I don't know what it's going to look like. And you're really good about saying this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but this is what I want the picture to look like.
Yeah.
And then starting to, through effort and action, working towards that and figuring out along the way, like, these are the pieces that I like. These are the pieces that I don't like. Let's get rid of the ones I don't like, or do less of these and do more of this one here.
Who is it? I think it's the master key system that says you don't have to know the how.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So there's a book called The Master Key System, and he talks about putting that intentionality out there and letting go of the how, just for the moment, so that you can, and I know I'm kind of contradicting myself, right? Because I said just a moment ago, how can I make that happen for myself? And these are different prompts, but they're both very useful. And so I think asking yourself the question, how can I make this happen? It doesn't put your brain to sleep, right? Because if you were just to say, that can't happen for me, you pass the buck, you're still in victim mode, your hands are up, you're done. If you ask the question, how can I make this happen for me? Your gears are turning. And if you let go of the how and you put the intention out there that I'm going to make this happen, or this can happen for me, you move a little bit more into faith. Faith and confidence in yourself that the how will show up. The how will be figured out, because maybe you're talking to someone and that person knows something else that you don't know, and they enlighten you. Maybe the more you find out, the more you want to know, and so you get that next book, or you take that next action. Right. Have a conversation with your boss, have a conversation with your spouse, or you research something to negotiate maybe a different day of the week or something like that, right?
Yeah. And I love what you said about gears turning, getting the gears turning. That is the most important part of any achievement that you want to gain, right? Are you even thinking about the solutions and the different strategies and tools and tactics that you can put into place to help you get the end result that you want? Because it's my firm belief and experience that the only thing that I personally have done to, I was gonna say, get work-life balance, harmony, integration, whatever, is just work on it.
Yeah.
To have the purpose of having balance in my life so that I can enjoy my life, my family, I can enjoy the clients and the patients, but most importantly, enjoy myself too, right? Yeah. And so I intentionally, and I jack this up all the time. Like, that's the other part that we have to keep in mind, is that you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
And I fail all the time, and it's okay, because growth is in the failure, right? We can look at failures as growth opportunities. And so as you're jacking things up as you go along, and you certainly will,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna get it wrong.
Yeah, you'll agree to something that you didn't mean to agree to.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever the case is.
Sure.
You'll sign up for too much on your plate.
Oh my gosh,
you know.
yes. That is my middle name, is agreeing to do things that I probably shouldn't be agreeing to do.
And just reminding yourself, it's a practice. Like that's the thing is maybe you agreed to it and then you went 6 months and you were coasting and then you agreed to it again. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I'm not supposed to agree to things on the third week of the month. I don't know, whatever that is. But just that willingness and the ability to adapt to change. What worked for you in your 20s is going to be different in your 30s and your 40s. And maybe this week to next week to this month to next month. You've got to be willing to you've got to be willing to adapt, to adjust sails and just go with the flow, kind of like water. Right? You just have to be a little like water with that. Because there is this natural ebb and flow to life. And so when we recognize that things are temporary and that things can change, especially if we have, a state of empowerment that we can ourselves change them, then we can move toward, feeling better in the moment that we're in, and then moving, like you said, working toward an even better
exactly
idealization.
And I don't know if you've heard this quote, and I can't remember who said it, but it goes something like, wherever I am at any given point in time is always the exact place that I'm supposed to be, or the perfect place to be, right? And it really takes us back to mindfulness, and that you can only have inner peace and happiness and well-being in the moment of now anyhow. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you hate your job, you hate the hours that you're working, you hate when you go home, I totally get it. I understand. I've been there. But that valley, if you will, could also be an amazing launch pad. And as my mentor, Jim Rohn, said, don't just get through the tough times, but get something from the tough times. And there's probably some nugget of value or wisdom in whatever you're already experiencing, right, as a human and as a veterinary professional, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's always something there.
Absolutely.
Something beneficial.
I agree. Especially if we're open enough to receive what that lesson is, to learn it, right? Because life has a way of pushing you around and smacking you in the face, telling you, hey, there's something to learn here. And if you don't learn it, then my favorite thing is what you resist persists.
Yeah, it'll keep happening, right? Until you figure it out. Like Oprah said, it's like a slap upside the head, and then it's like getting a brick upside the head. Right. And then if you don't respond to that, then the brick wall falls down, Sure. And maybe from there you kind of figure out like, hey, I need to be doing something different here. Yeah. And that's the name of the game. That's the name of the game.
Well, you guys, that is all we have for Work-Life Harmony. We hope that you pulled something away from that episode. I think we shared a lot of really good tips. We would love to know what you took away. And if you're curious more about those tips, drop it in the comments, let us know. And if you've enjoyed this episode, like it, share it with a friend, subscribe to get more content just like it.
That's right. And don't forget to follow us at MyVetCandy. And with that being said, that concludes this episode. I'm Dr. Quincy Hawley.
And I'm Renee Machel.
Thanks for watching.